From blockbuster hits and industry-changing inventions to being consumed by his demons, Howard Hughes is a man who went down in history as one of the most capable and intellectual businessmen and aviators, leaving behind a legacy of innovative aircraft designs, box office hit movies, and a gradual descent into insanity. Did he reinforce a stereotype that all masterminds go insane? Or was he simply a misunderstood, distinct man? Well, let's find out. Most of the information on Howard Hughes has been kept a secret and is prone to controversy. Yet certain information did reach the public's ear. Howard Hughes Jr. was born in Humble, Texas. His parents were Eileen Hughes and Howard R. Hughes Sr. Hughes' father was no ordinary man. Howard R. Hughes Sr. added immense value to the family fortunes with his invention called the Sharp Hughes, a two-cone rotary drill bit during the Texas oil boom. But why did a drill bit make them so rich? It penetrated hard rock with 10 times the speed of any former bit, and the lack of appropriate mining tools in the market allowed him to capitalize on the success of the drill, flourishing the family fortunes. As different as his father was, Hughes' mother was also not like ordinary mothers. She was an extremely worrisome and cautious woman, often forcing Hughes to stay indoors and constantly checked him for diseases. Anyway, you must be thinking, isn't every mother cautious towards their child? Well, yes, but Hughes' mother showed signs of extreme OCD and germophobia. Her fear often impacted Hughes in many ways and caused him great stress, which was one of the earliest reasons for his OCD. With distinct and unordinary parents, it wasn't a surprise when Hughes himself was also like that. At an age when most boys show an interest in girls, movies, and combating general confusions of puberty, Howard was busy building Houston's first wireless radio transmitter. And at the age of 12, he created the first motorized bicycle. From a young age, Howard Hughes was fascinated with flight after his father took him for a short ride aboard a Curtiss flying boat. Hughes turned that interest into an obsession and achieved many remarkable feats with it. But we'll talk more about that in just a bit. He also took math and aeronautical engineering courses at Caltech and briefly attended Rice University, but later dropped out, something I'm sure many of us wish to do. When Howard was 16 years old, his mother passed away due to pregnancy complications, and his father passed away 2 years later due to a heart attack. It was a very heartbreaking and hard time for him, but it did leave 18-year-old Hughes with a boatload of money and power. As Hughes was underage, he lacked control over the company, which caused issues with relatives who managed it differently than he envisioned. So, on his 19th birthday, he declared himself an independent miner and bought out the shares of his relatives and gained complete control of the company. For someone his age, it was a pretty bold move, and this allowed Hughes to enter and experience the business world firsthand. But with all that power, where did he set his sights next? Shortly after his marriage to Ella Botts Rice, he went to Los Angeles to pursue his interest in flying and film production. His first venture into the world of filmmaking was unlike any other. He produced a short movie by the name of Swell Hogan by paying the writer an absurd amount of money. But turns out that the movie was never released as it was a complete disaster and all copies of it were scrapped. Did he just give up? Not really, because his next two projects were Everybody's Acting and Two Arabian Nights. Boomers probably remember these. These movies were a huge success and spread Howard's name in Hollywood. His Two Arabian Nights even won the Academy Award for Best Director of a Comedy Picture. His third ambitious war film, Hell's Angels, was a 3-year production with a hefty price tag of $2.8 million. Originally silent, it was converted to sound mid-production and featured Jean Harlow as the lead, with the film even featuring a lot of new stunts. But were these stunts safe at all? This was a time when safety and protocol weren't a thing, and Hughes himself wasn't immune to the dangers. He took things into his own hands and infamously crashed while filming a risky stunt in Hell's Angels, fracturing his skull. This almost fatal crash was the first of many to come. He also went on to produce various other projects such as Scarface and Outlaw and numerous other movies. But his story doesn't just end at being a movie producer. In 1932, he founded the Hughes Aircraft Company in Culver City, California, and in September 1935, in an aircraft of his design, called the H-1 Racer, he made the world's landplane speed record of 352.46 miles, or 567.23 kilometers per hour. Now that's a fast plane. 2 years later, in the same plane, he averaged 332 miles per hour, which lowered the transcontinental flight time record to 7 hours and 28 minutes. In 1939, he bought and became the main stockholder of TWA. Yes, an entire airline. His intellect transformed it into a global airline that revolutionized air travel. He introduced all the things we know and love, such as in-flight movies, stewardesses in smart uniforms, and shorter travel times. It would be unfair to not talk about the fact that he also played a crucial role in the Second World War. During World War II, the USA needed to move their troops and supplies to different countries. This allowed the Liberty shipbuilder Kaiser and none other than Hughes to team up and build a giant cargo plane. His focus also turned to military aircrafts, and his company had several government contracts, notably for the Hughes XF-11 and the H-4 Hercules. However, the planes ran over schedule, just like his movies, and were not completed until after the war. This still leaves us with the question, how did he go crazy? While Howard Hughes had many noteworthy achievements throughout his life, his gradual descent into madness was also notable. Howard's mother was an irrational germaphobe, and psychologists understand why she might have been that way. You see, Aline was born in the 1880s, a time when diseases such as cholera, typhoid, smallpox, typhus, yellow fever, and scarlet fever were very common and caused immense deaths. Her fear probably stemmed from witnessing fatal illnesses firsthand as a child. When Howard was a child, his mother was super worried about germs, especially polio. She would constantly check him and limit what he ate in order to keep him healthy. And well, Howard's fear of germs grew with him throughout his life, and so did his OCD. A psychology expert, Raymond D. Fowler, was asked to conduct a psychological autopsy to determine Howard's mental and emotional condition in his last years. After a period of extensive research, Fowler released a statement saying, "A picture gradually emerged of a young child who pretty much was isolated and had no friends, and a man who increasingly became concerned about his health." Howard's repeated close calls with death throughout his life eventually led to persisting chronic pain as he aged. The pain got so unbearable that he turned to various drugs, including codeine. And just like every other addict, his 30-year-long daily usage of codeine gradually caught up to him. He spent his final years in isolation in darkened hotel rooms, with an extremely poor diet and watching movies all day. His OCD began to spiral, leading to demands of strange rituals that he made his staff follow. A simple task like opening a can while ensuring it was clean became an elaborate process that was documented in a staff manual. Now that's a lot of steps for opening a can of soda. So did being extra clean save him? Well, not really. Ironically, he ended up neglecting his personal hygiene as he reached the end. He rarely bathed or brushed his teeth and forced his obsession on those around him. It's become clear that the fear instilled in young Howard by his mother regarding germs was mostly associated with the outdoor world and to feel comfort and peace. He isolated himself from everyone and everything when his OCD got out of control. Eventually, his self-destructive behavior caught up to him, and despite his immense wealth and power, the once daring tycoon became a shadow of his former self. In a desperate attempt to receive medical attention, he was being flown from Acapulco in 1976, but sadly, kidney failure claimed his life during the flight to Houston, Texas, leaving a legacy of remarkable achievements and bizarre behavior. He really went from a billionaire to a germ-obsessed recluse. But hey, maybe there's a lesson here. Perhaps the relentless pursuit of ambition, or the inability to let go, can deeply affect the mind. Let us know what you think in the comments below.